Good morning and welcome to today's live trading London session with Harmonic Scanner and Pitchforks. Let's start sharing screen, have a look. First of all, we have a look at the news. And I think someone's just said there's some US news at 1:30 UK time. Oh, I've just got, oh yes, okay, yeah, 1:30 UK time, two lots of red flag news. Tomorrow, Australian dollar news, and Friday, Australian dollar and USD news. So we just need to bear that in mind today, USD news. And then coming over to our trading view, Chance had a few trade setups this morning. His best one was a buy on Euro NZD. That was the best one that was playing out. Euro GBP went the wrong way, and then I think he had Euro JPY for a sell. Was it AJ? Sorry, it was AJ, which it only moved about 9 pips while we were on. So again, as he said, out of session. So we're just let's have a look at that Euro GBP. And the UK's just announced that it's had the worst recession out of all of Europe post-COVID, or I don't know if it's post-COVID, but you know what I mean, minus 24%. So I presume that's why. I mean, these things aren't a surprise to the money men, but I presume the market reacts anyway sometimes. You think they'd sort the economies out. So we're working off this scan here, which I had from D point 27th of July. Although it's just, if you look at the extension, it's just moving back into that one that we said it had moved out of. So let me swap them back round, put that one on green, and bring this latest one up, see if it's working for us. There we are. Settings. I haven't looked at the scanner this morning to see if there's anything new. So let me know if we come across a pair where I haven't got a new scan. So it's just moving back into this one. Looking nice actually, because we've got 62, the orange has crossed above for a buy. It's just coming out of this little area of the pitchfork and the quarter theory. So if we get a break and a retest here on the euro going up, then we'd have a long position. Long meaning buy, I don't know why they call it like that, but they do. Short the sell. So we've had break and retest of the pitchfork and a break and retest of quarter theory. Oh, and this time it did come back to the pitchfork. We were talking yesterday about how these strong lines, the 62 and the quarter theory, will hold things, but there we are, perfect to the pip, break right back there. And let's put trend line on, but that's not going to work for us really. Don't think I like that. No point in that. So we'll just put an alert on for this. And let's see when it comes up. So we'll have a look at it. Oh, it's just kind of going to set my alert off in a minute if I'm not careful. So we've got price moving in the right direction. I'll just have a look at the hull, see what the 15-minute band tells us. So the 15-minute band is saying green, but do remember it could equally, you can equally, just because you're looking at this, it can flash the red. You know, it doesn't mean it's, it just means we've had that last 15 minutes it's been going up. So I'll just leave that for a minute. It's just doing a little retrace down here. Let's find something. It's just gone under the 62, so keep an eye on that one. EN he was in, and that was doing very well. I think he was up 30 pips. I don't know if I've got the same. I don't think I've got the same. No, he had a different scan from this one.
A new scan was redrawn on that big spike. So with a downward trend.
Yes,
but
that's the one he's trading off. It was a sell scan.
Yeah, sell scan, that's it.
Is that a new one? Is that a new one then?
It is, yeah. I'll share the coordinates of the two that I've got, if you like, in the trade ideas.
You've got two?
There's another one. USD JPY Shark.
Oh, okay. Can I have the, can you just tell me, this is an hourly, I presume?
Yeah. There might be a couple of others in 15 and 30 minutes as well, so.
No, I'll just have the,
okay.
They're not that different usually, you'll find. It doesn't really matter as long as you have drawn them accurately.
The thing that bothered me with the big spike, because that's where the D point is.
Yeah.
It's because it was such a massive spike. And,
yeah,
and
I saw it on his thing.
Yeah. How valid would that be, do you think?
Well, I only heard the last half hour of his call, but he was trading off it and using it, so
Okay.
it didn't matter to him. So if it doesn't matter to him, it doesn't matter to me. He was taking a trade off it.
Yeah, I took a trade on that as well, but on the previous scan.
Right.
So it worked for that one.
So what's this latest one then, Babs? What are the coordinates?
Hold on. Okay, it's an H1 butterfly. Do you want me to write it down?
No, just tell me.
Okay, so 6th of August.
Yeah.
0700 UK time. 7th of August 0400.
Yeah.
10th of August 09.
Yeah.
11th of August 05.
Yeah.
And 12th 03.
Okay. So it's always high to low, so you can see quite clearly where those points are. So just grab your pattern, put your magnet on because you need it to be exact. Sorry, you probably can't see it very clearly. I've got it on green. Just make it my lovely pink. put the pitchfork on, X, C, D, change that to white, and then I like to tidy up the brush marks. Yeah, that was, I suppose that was news.
Yeah, big news in New Zealand.
Oh, right. I wonder what they were doing then. You never really think of very much happening down there, I suppose. Oh, well, I mean, I know things do. That's not a very sensible thing to say. So obviously the economy, oh, because they were very locked down. They did very well on COVID, didn't they?
Oh, they had an interest rate decision
Oh, okay.
and a rate statement, policy statement, and then a press conference.
Oh, right.
So what's going on there?
Whereas Boris has managed to put the UK into recession, minus 24%, the worst in Europe. Okay, so now we've got that on, which is why the EURGBP trade chance had, I think, went the other way. Right, so just lock that on. So now we've done that, we can have a look at his trade. So one of Warren's favorites here, quarter theory and pitchfork right together, bang on. And you can see it is, once it got up past the 62, it's done about 50 pips.
Would he have took that though, because it's not gone down to the medium?
No, I think he did take it for a buy. He took it for a buy, yeah.
I took it off the same one that you had, the previous one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I missed.
Yeah, that's what I did.
So that's 60. Well, that's 63 pips. So it's quite a big scan. So maybe that's why. I don't know if he mentioned that on the call because I only got on the last half hour. So that's the exception to the rule, isn't it? He can take a buy off one this big. Anyway, that's what he did, and he was up 30 pips. So on your previous one, were you on buys or sells then? Buys, I presume.
Yeah, buy.
Oh, well done. So what have we got here? We've got it coming back. So have we got a sell here then now? So we've got it below the quarter theory with a break and a retest, still above the 62. And how much is that? Oh, that's 11 pips. And it is a sell scan. So if we put a short position on quarter theory, this is what one of our fast pairs. Oh, I had a question in the chat that someone wanted me to answer on the call. Let's just have a look at this one. I must remember to do that. So we wouldn't want to get into this till it's below the 62, but does that look like a sell now then? What's everyone thinks? We've got 11 pip break and retest. We've got stop loss entry covered by the quarter theory and the pitchfork, and we're just waiting for it to get below the 62. And it is a sell scan. So this point here, price needs to come below there. So we'd be down, if we let that happen, we would be Oh, that's quite a lot off, isn't it? 10 pips. So maybe that doesn't quite work so well for us on this one. Maybe we'd be better off waiting till as a setup later on when it comes down to here. Because that would be too big a stop loss for me to cover that there. Right, so I'll leave that one, I think. I'm not quite sure I like the look of that one. What else did he have? Oh, AJ. See what's happening there. So the question I was asked was, why don't we draw scans that are less than 80 pips? So the answer is because on this strategy, we're going for a 2-to-1 risk to reward. So for an 80 pip scan, I don't know what this scan is, have a look. Each leg of your pitchfork would therefore be 20 pips. So visually and for your maths on working out your compounding success on this strategy, you know that for the pitchfork acts as our spring. We always must have a mandatory touch to the pitchfork before we take a trade, and therefore you've got a minimum of your 2-to-1, your 20 pips for your 10 pip stop loss. That's why we don't take scans less than 80 pips. That one is bigger, that's 50, 56, but that's the reason why. So AJ, 6th of August, scan. So he must have been in that, if he's got the same scan, for a buy. But no trade for us at the moment until it goes up to that level or comes back down to this level. So I think I'll, yeah, and again, if he was in for a buy, like Connor said, he's not waited for it to go down to the median, has he? That's not over 60 pips. Interesting. Can't answer that. Maybe he thought it was close enough to the 60. I don't know. I think I'll see what that looks like for a short position later on. 7. Remember, it's out of session, as Chance said, so it moves more slowly. Tokyo session pair, but you can trade anything any time of day, just depends if the setups are there. So I'm going to put my trend line alert on down here for this one and have a look when that pings off later. So that's, I'll wait for that to work its way down. At the moment it's, so that might come out too far. It's still all right over there. So we'll see how we get on with that one. So that's AJ. Let's see what's happening on the euro. So wicking off lots of dojis. Just coming up. So in a few minutes, I'll have a look at the half-hour candle, see if it's giving us the buy that we want. It looks like it is working its way up. And he also had, I think it was, I can't remember if it was CJ. Canadian dollar, Japanese yen. So technically not a London pair. Babs, which was the other new scan that you had? Is she not there? D point of 10th of July.
USD JPY.
Oh, thank you. I just need to make a note of that. And when you say you're putting them on the sheet, where is that sheet? Or is it on your sheet?
Yeah, that actually, couldn't I? Because I'm putting everything on a Google Sheet personally, so I can kind of track what, you know, so I can do my own analysis and things later on. Because you know me, I like a Google Sheet.
Yeah.
Then it's easy to share, so save somebody else kind of getting the coordinates, if that's useful.
Well, it would be helpful. Yeah, I can't always keep up with them all sometimes. I think I've got them all, and then someone says, "Oh no, you've just missed one." So that's 3.3 there. That is coming up for us now. So we just want.
Having said that, oh, there it is.
So we've got the orange above the blue for a buy. We've had this big break and retest here and back there, and all those rejections off the pitchfork. So I think chance would say those are your break and retests off the pitchfork. 1, 2, 3, 4, and that would give us. That gives us 6.8. So the only question is, if we're considering that this pitchfork and these breaks there, 1, 2, and then these rejections here are sufficient, so we don't need to have the 10 pips above the quarter theory as well. We've got 3.3, well, we've got all those rejections on quarter theory. So at what point do we want to consider getting in? Definitely got the upward momentum. So check 1 would be pitchfork touch. We've got that. Check 2, the 62 crossing above. And check 3, we've got quarter theory. Let's have a look at that half-hour candle. So it was a sell candle, but the body of the candle closed exactly on quarter theory. With that long wick down. So that is a very good sign for us. And then this new one, that is a good, that's the 10 o'clock. And this is the new one. Which is opening as a sell candle. So maybe it wants to just move its way along a little bit more. So that's just wicked off the 15-minute line on the 5-minute. And on the 1-minute, it's just dropping below at the moment. So it's still just working its way along a bit. Oh, I just took my alert off as well. So I could put an alert on. I don't know how that works. So if you still put an alert on where you've got the 3-in-1 indicator, don't want it going off on everything. Put it back on. Okay, well, we'll have to leave that one a moment because it's just dipping back down. So CAD JPY. This might be something for New York session. Stall out all the way through Tokyo. So it's working its way. And it never, the orange never really, the 62 never really crossed below that quarter theory and the blue. So it's been in an upward trend since for quite some time. Since 10th of August. So I'm going to put an alert. Let me see what this looks like. So normally that's slightly sitting in a strange position. You've got it cutting. You're getting off a break and a retest of the pitchfork there. If it carries on in that upward momentum, then you've got the, in fact, I can see a pitchfork running behind. So you might get 10 pips if you wanted to do a 1-to-1, because you've got an old pitchfork and quarter theory just cutting right through your 2-to-1 there. So it's a bit of a strange one. So I'll put an alert on that pitchfork to come and have a look at that later. That might be one for this afternoon for us to look at. So that's CAD JPY. I'll close that one. I'm going to look at, oh, here we are. Right. So I think we've got our buy here. Quite a flat, so we've got quarter theory pitchfork and the 62. It is quite a slow pair. The only other thing is we might want to wait for that 62. We might want to lose a few pips and just wait for that 62 to push price up a little bit more so we don't get caught, because it's not that fast a pair, Euro GBP, because they're very similar currencies. So we don't get caught with it slipping back into this price trap. So that's the only thing I think. I think I'd like to see that 62 just supporting price a little bit more and make sure that we're out of it dropping back to that, like it's done there, drop back to that 62 and keep us trapped in there for a while in drawdown. We'll just carry on watching this for a minute. I'll just check, see if there's any questions in the chat. Thank you. USD JPY, let me write that down. 3rd of the 8th, 1400. 5th of the 8th, 1400. That's UK time, I presume. 6th of the 8th at 09. 6th of the 8th, 1400. And 11th of the 8th at 1400. Thank you. So on the 1 minute candle, we've just got price on EURGBP for the buy. Just a little doji there, just wicked off our 1 minute trend line. So just need to let it get pushed up a little bit more solidly onto this, above this quarter theory before getting in for a buy. That's what I'd like to see. So it's just playing around with us at the moment. Oh, look at that, it's off. I think it's off now. If we want to get into that, just stop sharing. I might do, oh, my machine must have started overnight. Open that up. Sorry, I just had to open up I might have missed this. You look at it on my C trader. EURGBP. Oh yeah, it's going up nice and strongly. So as I'm just going to put a small lot size on this. As I'm live. That's a buy. Entry. 4, 5. Yes, I was quite a little bit off. Uh, 4, 5, 1, 4, 5. So I've done mine from where I got in, but really I'll need to look at it slightly lower down because you should really do it off the pitchfork or the quarter theory, wherever you got in. I'm just going to put an alert there. Right, so let's see how that goes. So 10 pips off quarter theory.
Sarah, what kind of take profit levels are you looking at for that one?
Well, I'd always look at the same. I'd look at that 20 pips off quarter theory, but it shot up a bit, but it was better that it shot up because we're still waiting for the 62 to get above that quarter theory to keep us safe from it dipping below. So it's quite hard to get in on that 1 minute candle, I found. So because my C trader had shut down overnight. So I'd still put my 20 pips on. It is a slower moving pair. It is a buy scan. So technically our next profit level is is this white pitchfork, which is what we are playing in here. With the one with the D point of the 31st of July is the one I've got. And that is per leg 50, 51, 50 pips. So it's a slower pair, that's all. So you might not get, and we do have that white pitchfork cutting across us there on the extension. So we are still in the extension leg. So it could be that it fails us at that leg there before it comes up. So I've got in quite late on that. So you might only get, I did it off quarter theory, that's 10 pips. It needs to break through that level. So I suppose really it might have been better to have waited until it got up above the inner extension. But I have also got a green, that green pitchfork that I've got behind it as well, which is sat at 10 pips there. So possibly, well, it should go on up, but I would not necessarily all in the same move, because it's a buy scan heading up to that white one there. There's that 50 pips leg. But after London session, it won't move so much. It might move the first hour of New York, but we're always aiming for our 20 pips. So this one I've done slightly differently because I'm in the extensions. And I was in a little bit late on this one. But we've got all the confirmations there at the moment. Does that answer the question? So I do agree with you that you should always think, how am I going to get out of a trade when I get in it? So I'm thinking I might get 10 pips out of this one-to-one. That's probably what I'm thinking because of this pitchfork here.
I think I was just wondering when the 20 pips isn't near a level, then do you go for the 20 pips or are you looking for it to go to the next?
Well, that's a very good question, because technically you should really be doing it off the pitchfork. You should be measuring it, because that should be this is a precise strategy. So that as close to the pitchfork as possible should be your entry point. But chance will sometimes give up 3 or 4 pips off the entry point if he's waiting for price to get above or below the 62. Yeah?
Yeah.
And then when he does that, I have seen him always, I mean, I've never consciously looked at it, I suppose. I've always assumed he's doing it off his entry price, and that tends to be what I do. But then I have heard him say it should be technically off the pitchfork. So I tend to do it off my entry point, but I'm conscious of the fact that I might be 3 or 4 pips off the pitchfork and therefore weighing it up accordingly. That for me, price may be falling back, say at the 15 pip for me, whereas actually it's 20 pips off the pitchfork if I've got in off the pitchfork. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, so you have to kind of balance your entry.
You have to balance your entry and always know what you're thinking of as your exit when you get into a trade. It's really, really important, not just to come onto the playing field and think, oh, where am I? Oh, I'll just grab those pips. So I am, because the faster pairs in particular, one is always looking to try and get to that next level. But the one he was in this morning, the EN one, someone asked a really good question. They said, how much should I let price retrace before I decide it's gone the other way and take my profit and get out? And he said, well, look at this EN trade. He said, I'm up 30 pips. He said, I would never, ever want to see it go, I would never let it get right back to the 62 and give up all that profit, or 50%. He said over 50%. He said, that's not going to happen. I'm not going to give up 15 pips. He said, I'm going to try and get at least 20 pips out of this, but I'm not going to move the stop profit so tight to the 20 pips without giving it the room to breathe. So I can see if it will go up to the quarter theory. So I thought that was really good advice on the fast pair. You know, if you're up 30 pips, don't let it retrace 15 pips and give up 50% of your profit you've just earned. So
Yeah.
I took that one on board. I thought that was good advice. So this is slowly moving its way up. So we'll move on to something else. I think I'm going to move that alert to the inner extension, just so I can see what it does there. Okay, let's look at something else. I only put a small lot size on that. So that's EURGBP, NJ looked at. Let's look at some more London pairs. GJ. I think I did most of the ones that he didn't have a lot this morning. And the markets, it wasn't, as Warren said yesterday, you know, the markets were confusing. It wasn't just us. Quite a few people said they were confusing yesterday in terms of, like I saw GBP USD, and it dropped right down, a big drop to the 15-minute, and then it carried on and took up. And that big drop down was way over 10 or 15 pip stop loss. And then there was the other one, USD CAD, that we were looking at, and we just couldn't see if it was going to go up or down. So it wasn't us, it was the markets yesterday. Quite tricky. So GJ is not in a place for, I'm going to change that to an alert. No, I'm not, because it's not the right shape. So the next one for me would be down at this level here. It's on its way down. Just going to put an alert on, see if that comes up later. Because often this, as we know, is a patience game. We're not looking for instant trades necessarily. We're waiting for setups. So we don't need to bother ourselves till that decides, you know, it's going to come down there. Although that is a buy scan, actually. Just have a look at the context. Take that off there. So it's worked its way up to the median. And it's just off that quarter theory. So it should technically be going all the way up. But let's have a look on the 15-minute. So long stall out right along quarter theory until London, where it's done a push up to that quarter theory again. So it looks to me like it wants to come back down. Yeah. So coming back down to that pitchfork. Look at all that. Isn't that amazing? I love quarter theory. Look at that. All the way along, all the way along, all the way along. For $11 hours. So then a 50 pip move. Looks to me like it'll come down to that pitchfork, and then maybe we should be looking for a buy again. That's how I read that one. And there it is on the 1 minute. So we're waiting for it to see what it's going to do at that level. So that's GJ. That's nice. The 62 is coming above quarter theory. Best not look at things once you're in them. That's what I find. Euro USD, we haven't looked at. Euro USD. This is off a scan. D point 11th of August. And we've got pitchfork touch check. We've got the 62 above the coming above, check 2. We've got a nice quarter theory and pitchfork together, but price has just dipped below. It might be coming to test this 15 minutes. So I'm going to put a long position on this one here. And we'll see, and I'll put an alert on this as well. One 7584, something round about there. 5. So I'll put a trend line alert.
Sorry, can I ask another question?
Yeah, of course. I welcome it. Yeah, please.
With this scan on Euro USD from with the D point the 11th of August.
Yeah.
It went up a bit and then it came back down to a bit lower than the D point on the 12th of August. Is that fine, or is that something like, what do you do in that situation?
It depends. If it drops straight off the D point, if it plummets straight down, then it's a failed scan. If it goes to the extensions, then and there may be quarter theory below that, then usually the quarter theory and the extensions will act as an elastic band and pull price back up. You know, the scan hasn't failed if it's moved along from the D point and dropped down. And sometimes what I do is look at the harmonic scanner to see what the stop loss entry point and take profit is on the scanner. I don't tend to bother to follow it because we don't need to. We've got our own strategy. Often I'll find the take profits are just a few pips, depending on whether it's a buy or a sell, above or below quarter theory. So I find they're just using the quarter theory as their take profit. So if we have a look at this D point on the hourly, that's not a failed scan.
So if it's inside of the extensions, that's still fine?
That's still fine. And even if it had dropped right, because it hasn't dropped, if it had dropped straight off the D point like that, something like that, then I'd consider it a failed scan because it's saying the D point hasn't held. And either we'd move the D point, or because sometimes on the scanner you'll see price has just gone straight down, and that is clearly a failed scan. If it's doing this and then it decides it's just, you know, it's doing that, and even it might do that, I don't consider that necessarily a failed scan because it will come back up like that. So I don't consider that sort of move a failed scan. I mean, I'm not a professional trader. So, but this I consider a failed scan. If it looks horrible, there's plenty of other scans. Just delete it. Or hide it until you see what one of your teammates is doing and ask them.
Yeah. Okay.
And look back on the scanner, because if it's disappeared off the scanner, then it's saying it's failed. Right, so we'll look at one more. Let's put that back on the 1 minute. We'll look at one more. GA, because that's the next one I've got on the list. Very fast pair. No trade. I've got an alert down there. It's going up. I'll remove that at the moment and think about, I'll have a look at that later. So we just do one more, there's nothing on GA. EURGBP, so New York pair, see what might be setting up for later. EURGBP, so it's been in downward momentum. It crossed over back on the 11th, London yesterday, and still a strong downward momentum. So no trade at the moment. Okay, so it's still got quite some way to go in that scan. I've got various scans going on there. I'm confused on this one. I need to clear that. That's better. Oh, okay. So we've still got a downward momentum. We would have had a trade back here in Tokyo early hours of this morning. It is a slower pair. It's only about a 4 out of 10. It's very, very good if you are starting off with this strategy. So we're going to look at this here, which may come up for this afternoon. And that's it. We're just out of time. I'm going to stop sharing. And have I got any more in the chat? No. And I will see you at 3 p.m. this afternoon for New York trading. So enjoy your trading and I'll see you later.
Thanks.
Okay.